The dead don't always rest in peace. Sometimes they linger, they watch, they wait. In the silent realm of cemeteries where marble headstones stand as sentinels of the departed, strange occurrences unfold, unseen by most but felt by many. These are not mere ghost stories or urban legends. These are real events, documented, witnessed, experienced. I've spent years investigating the unexplained, the mysterious, the downright terrifying. Tonight we delve into two of the most spine-tingling true stories from these hallowed grounds. Are you ready to face the whispers from the grave? Prepare yourself. Welcome to the world of true cemetery horrors. Our first tale takes us to the heart of Edinburgh, Scotland, to a place known as Greyfriars Kirkyard. It's an ancient cemetery, dating back to the 16th century, a place steeped in history and blood, the final resting place of notable figures and common folk alike. But it's also home to something far more sinister, something that has earned it the reputation as one of the most haunted cemeteries in the world. At the center of this dark reputation is the Black Mausoleum, a tomb that houses the remains of Sir George Mackenzie, a man known in life as Bloody Mackenzie for his brutal persecution of Scottish Covenanters. In death, it seems, his cruelty hasn't waned. Since the 1990s, there have been hundreds of documented attacks on visitors to the Black Mausoleum. Unexplained scratches, bruises, even loss of consciousness. Is it mass hysteria? Or is there something more to these encounters? Something that science can't explain? The evidence suggests that in Greyfriars Kirkyard, the dead are far from at rest. As the sun sets and shadows lengthen over the gravestones, the atmosphere grows even more eerie. Tourists flock to this haunted site, eager to experience the supernatural for themselves. Guided ghost tours are a common sight, with visitors hoping to catch a glimpse of the paranormal. Historical reenactments bring the past to life, with actors portraying the figures who once walked these grounds. Paranormal investigators frequently visit, armed with ghost hunting equipment, trying to capture evidence of the restless spirits. EMF meters, thermal cameras, and other devices are used in an attempt to detect the presence of the supernatural. Visitors often share their own ghost stories, adding to the eerie atmosphere that pervades Greyfriars Kirkyard. The gravestones, with names and dates etched in stone, serve as a reminder of the many lives that have passed through this world. Under the moonlight, the cemetery takes on an even more haunting appearance, with shadows dancing among the tombstones. The Black Mausoleum, dark and foreboding, stands as a testament to the chilling tales that surround it. In Greyfriars Kirkyard, the line between the living and the dead seems to blur, leaving us to wonder if the restless spirits will ever find peace. But the horrors of Greyfriars don't end with ghostly attacks. There's another tale, one that sends shivers down the spine, one that blurs the line between the living and the dead, a tale that has haunted Edinburgh for centuries. It's the story of William Hare, a real-life body snatcher whose name still echoes in the dark corners of history. Hare turned Greyfriars into his personal hunting ground, a place where the dead were not allowed to rest in peace. In the early 19th century, Edinburgh was a centre for medical research, a beacon of scientific progress. Doctors needed bodies for dissection to advance their understanding of human anatomy, and they didn't ask questions about where those bodies came from. Hare saw an opportunity to profit from this demand. Along with his partner William Burke, he began a reign of terror that would leave a permanent scar on the city. They would lure unsuspecting victims to their lodging house, ply them with drink, and then suffocate them in cold blood. The bodies were sold to Dr. Robert Knox, a prominent anatomist who was eager to further his research. Knox turned a blind eye to their origins, driven by his insatiable thirst for knowledge. Is it the restless spirit of Hare that still haunts Greyfriars, still seeking bodies to sell, even in death? Or is there something even more sinister lurking in the shadows? The mystery remains unsolved to this day, but the fear lingers on, a chilling reminder of the dark deeds that once took place here. Our second story takes us across the Atlantic, to a small, unassuming cemetery in Kansas, Stull Cemetery. At first glance, it looks ordinary, a few weathered headstones and old church ruins. But appearances can be deceiving, for Stull Cemetery has a reputation, one that has earned it the nickname the Gateway to Hell. The legends surrounding Stull are numerous and chilling. Some say the devil himself appears here twice a year, on the spring equinox and Halloween, to visit the grave of his son. Others claim there's a hidden staircase one that leads straight to the underworld. But these aren't just stories. People have reported experiencing terrifying phenomena here, phenomena that defy rational explanation. Section 5. The demonic portal and the Pope's curse. The reputation of Stoll Cemetery extends far beyond local legend. This small, unassuming graveyard in Kansas has become infamous for its eerie atmosphere and chilling tales. It's said that the Vatican is aware of its sinister nature. The stories have reached even the highest echelons of the Catholic Church that Pope John Paul II refused to fly over it. The Pope, known for his deep spiritual insight, took these warnings seriously, ordering his plane to alter course during a visit to Colorado in 1995. This decision was not made lightly, reflecting the gravity of the cemetery's dark reputation. The reason? He believed the land was unholy, cursed, a place where the veil between our world and the demonic is perilously thin, a portal for dark forces to enter our world. This belief is not just a modern superstition, but is rooted in the cemetery's long and troubled history. But what could have caused such a curse? The origins of this malevolence are shrouded in mystery and speculation. Local historians point to a tragic event in the cemetery's past, a sorrowful tale that has been passed down through generations. In the early 1850s, a settler's wife died in childbirth. Her death was a harbinger of the dark events that would follow. The baby, deformed and stillborn, was buried on the grounds. This tragic and unsettling event is said to have tainted the land. Some say this unholy burial opened a gateway that allowed dark forces to seep into our world, forever altering the cemetery's fate, allowing malevolent forces to seep into our world. These forces have been blamed for countless eerie occurrences and sightings. Others claim the land was cursed long before. Long before settlers arrived, the land was considered sacred and dangerous by Native American tribes who recognized its dark energy. They performed rituals to contain the malevolent spirits, but their efforts may have only delayed the inevitable. Whatever the origin, the reports of supernatural activity in Stoll are numerous and disturbing. From ghostly apparitions to inexplicable sounds, the cemetery remains a focal point of paranormal investigations and local lore. Section 6. The Ghostly Guardians of Bachelor's Grove. While Stoll and Greyfriars may be the most infamous, they're far from the only cemeteries with dark reputations. Let's turn our attention to Bachelor's Grove Cemetery, located just outside of Chicago. It's a small, abandoned graveyard, hidden away in the Rubio Woods Forest Preserve. But don't let its size fool you. Bachelor's Grove is considered one of the most haunted places in America. The cemetery dates back to the 1840s. It was once a peaceful resting place for early settlers. But over the years it fell into disrepair, vandalism, neglect, and something else. Something that has drawn paranormal investigators from around the world. The reports of supernatural activity here are staggering. Orbs of light, phantom vehicles, and perhaps most famously, the White Lady. Section 7. The Vanishing Hitchhiker of Resurrection Cemetery. Our journey through America's haunted cemeteries wouldn't be complete without mentioning Resurrection Cemetery. Located in Justice, Illinois, it's home to one of the most famous ghost stories in the country. The tale of Resurrection Mary, a story that blends urban legend with real-world encounters, creating a mystery that has endured for decades. The story goes that in the 1930s, a young woman named Mary was leaving a dance at the O. Henry Ballroom. She got into an argument with her boyfriend, decided to walk home. Along Archer Avenue, she never made it. Hit by a passing car. The driver fled the scene. Mary was buried in Resurrection Cemetery in the dress she wore to the dance, but it seems she wasn't ready to rest. Since then, there have been countless reports of a young woman in a white dress. Section 8. The Bone-Chilling Legacy of St. Louis Cemetery. Number 1. Our final stop takes us to New Orleans, a city steeped in voodoo and the supernatural, to St. Louis Cemetery Number 1, the oldest cemetery in the city, and arguably its most haunted. Established in 1789, it's a maze of above-ground tombs, a necessity in a city built below sea level. But these stone crypts hold more than just physical remains. They're home to restless spirits and dark magic. The most famous resident of St. Louis Cemetery. Number 1 is Marie Laveau, the voodoo queen of New Orleans. Even in death, her power is said to linger. Visitors leave offerings at her tomb, make wishes. Some claim to have seen her spirit walking among the graves, dressed in her signature turban. Section 9, the Voodoo Queen's Eternal Reign. The influence of Marie Laveau extends far beyond her own tomb. Her presence seems to permeate the entire cemetery. Visitors report strange sensations, unexplained noises, the feeling of being watched. Some claim to have been touched by unseen hands or to have heard whispered incantations in the air. Is this the lingering power of the voodoo queen, or something more sinister? One particularly disturbing incident occurred in the 1990s. A group of tourists were taking a guided tour of the cemetery. As they approached Laveau's tomb, one of the women in the group suddenly collapsed. She began speaking in a strange language. Her voice changed, became deeper, more authoritative. The tour guide, recognizing the signs of possession, called for help. It took 3 people to restrain the woman, who exhibited strength far beyond her normal capabilities.